Oye, mira lo que me compró mi novia para las navidades. Dale. Mira, y tú compraste unos AirPods para tu novia, ¿no? Sí, la compré. No, espérate. La dije mal. Los compré. No, eso también suena mal. La compré los. No, loco, ¿qué es lo que contigo? Pero tú no hablas español. ¿Tú quieres decir se los compré? Diablo. If that's you, you need to get yourself a pen, a notebook, or your phone and take notes and watch this whole video, because today I'm going to show you how to use direct object pronouns and indirect object pronouns correctly and leave you with 0 questions at the end. Let's get started. Do you like to repeat yourself? I don't, but if I have to repeat myself, I prefer to repeat the short form of what I said as opposed to the long form. And that's exactly what direct object pronouns do. For example, este es mi celular. Yo tengo mi celular. Uso mi celular todos los días. I had to say mi celular 3 veces, 3 times. That's annoying. Who wants to do that? When you can just say it once and then switch to it. That's the exact purpose of the direct object pronouns. Now we're going to go over how to spot a direct object in the first place to be able to replace it with a direct object pronoun. Direct objects are going to answer the question who or what in a sentence. More specifically, who or what receives the action. So for example, if I'm saying I see my mom, veo a mi madre is the one who receives the look. So she will be the direct object. If I say yo tengo el cuarto, cuarto for me is money because it's Dominican Spanish, el cuarto. El cuarto is being had, so el cuarto is the direct object. So once I mention the direct object once, I'm free to use the direct object pronoun as much as I want to. I can replace that direct object with the direct object pronoun. But what exactly are the direct object pronouns? Well, take a look at this chart here. So I have in the first column the direct object pronouns in Spanish. I have what it replaces in English in the next column, and then I'll have what it will replace in Spanish in the last column. We have me, which means me in English, but in Spanish it will replace a mí. It doesn't necessarily mean to me. The a has to be there because it's the personal a. You're talking about a person or you're talking about a beloved pet, you're going to use the personal a, but we'll talk about that in a later video. Then we have te, which means you in English, and it replaces a ti in Spanish. Then we have lo and la. Lo is the singular masculine form for him, or it can be it if the object is singular and masculine. For example, el celular is singular and masculine, so I can replace it with lo, and that will mean that I'm saying it. Or if I'm talking about my brother, mi hermano, then I can replace mi hermano con lo. If we're talking about her or a feminine object, then we will say la, referring to it. So it's a singular feminine form of the direct object pronoun. Next we have nos, which means us, and it replaces a nosotros. Next we have los and las. I don't go over os because I don't teach Spanish, but it does exist if you want to look it up. Los means them, and it's the masculine plural form of the direct object pronoun. It can replace a ellos or whatever article you're talking about. Los celulares becomes los. Las is the feminine plural form of them. Las bolsas becomes las, meaning them. Or las mujeres will become las, meaning them. You can still use a mí, a ti, a él, a ella, a nosotros, like, all these things. You can still use it with your direct object pronoun, but sometimes it will just replace it completely. Most people don't struggle with me, te, nos, but they struggle with lo, la, los, and las. I know that's what you're here for. So, a little shortcut to help you remember this is, if the object carries the article with it, la, los, las, all you have to do is take the end off and you have your direct object pronoun. And then with el, you just switch it to lo. It's that simple. La botella, just take botella off and you have your direct object pronoun, la. El libro, take libro off, switch it to lo, you're good. Las chancletas, take chancletas off, and you have las. You're left with las. That's your direct object pronoun. Okay, so those are our direct object pronouns. Now that we have them down, hopefully you've taken notes because it's time to practice putting some objects into direct object pronoun form, okay? What is the correct direct object pronoun for las vainas? If you said las, muy bien. What about la Biblia? If you say it's la, you're right. El pocillo. If you said lo, then you're correct. What about los instrumentos? If you said los, then you're ready to move on. Now it's time to talk about the placement of direct object pronouns. Where can we place them so that it makes sense, so that we're using them correctly? Luckily, there are only 4 places that you can place them. The first 3 are going to be attachments. You're going to attach them onto certain types of words. So the first one will be the infinitive. If we're talking about food, somebody's talking about la comida, and then I say, quiero comerla, there we go. I attached it onto the infinitive. It makes perfect sense. Quiero comerla. Okay? So that's position number 1. Position number 2 will be attached to a gerund. A gerund is a word that ends in yendo or ando. Yendo or ando. In English, it's equal to a word ending in ing, and we will attach the direct object pronoun to the end of that as well. If somebody already has mentioned la comida, we already know what I'm talking about. We know the direct object that I'm talking about. We want to make it a direct object pronoun, and I want to say I'm eating it. I will say estoy comiéndola. Estoy comiéndola. When you have a gerund, you want the pronunciation for that gerund to be the same as if it didn't have that attachment. So, as you can see when it's written, it's going to have an accent mark on the third to last vowel, the third to last syllable. Because if we say the word comiendo naturally, then we hear the stress over the E. We still want to have that accent there, so it has to be written in because it's just part of the grammar rule, okay? Estoy comiéndola. The third placement that we have is attached to an affirmative command. For example, hazlo, hazlo, do it. That's the to form of do it, hazlo. If your word after the direct object pronoun is attached has 3 or more syllables, then you will accent the third from last syllable again, the third from last vowel. So I'll use the same phrase, but I'll use it in the usted form. Hágalo. Hágalo. So I have to have the accent over the first A there, or aka the third vowel from the end to make it make sense. Hágalo. Okay, so don't forget that part. Last but not least, we can place the direct object pronoun in front of a conjugated verb. So if I want to say, I do it, lo hago, lo hago. If it's not an affirmative command, you are not going to attach the direct object pronoun to the end of a conjugated verb. It never makes sense. It sounds ugly. So know that here, know that now. Don't do it, okay? With that being said, even if you do have a gerund, even if you do have an infinitive, which they have the direct object pronoun attached to the end of them, if you want to, you can, instead of attaching it to the end, you can put it before that conjugated verb as well. So for example, these sentences mean the exact same thing. It's all a matter of personal preference. Natives switch it around all the time. Whatever you want to do, you can do with gerunds and infinitives only, not with the affirmative command, okay? Quiero comerla, I want to eat it, or la quiero comer. The same exact sentence. There's no value change. There's nothing different about that sentence at all besides the placement of the direct object pronoun. So it should be easier with that. With the gerund as well. La estoy comiendo or estoy comiéndola. So you see, you can flip it. Either attach it to the gerund or put it before the conjugated verb. But don't put it in both places because that is not correct. That's not how we do it. It will never work, okay? So now I have some sentences here for you to translate. El hombre quiere ver los videos de Bilingue blogs. How do you say, he wants to see them? If you said, él los quiere ver, or él quiere verlos, then you're right.
El chico está escuchando la canción. How do you say he's listening to it? If you said está escuchándola or la está escuchando, you're correct.
Last but not least, in regards to direct object pronouns, when you have a preposition and you want to say it or use a direct object pronoun, just know that you can't really do that. You will never say para, lo, sobre, la, en, las. It never works like that. So make sure you're sharp on your prepositions. Know when you're using a preposition because you cannot have a direct object pronoun at the end of it, okay? So with it, if it's masculine, con él. If it's feminine, con ella, okay? Very specifically, with the word con, if you're talking about with someone, you will use conmigo to say with me, contigo to say with you, consigo with him, her, or you, the formal form with the, usted form. Or you can say con nosotros, con ellos, con ellas, okay? But it will never be con los, con las, con lo, con la, con me, con te. It will never be like that, okay? So don't be one of those people getting those wrong. Just know that it cannot go with the preposition, but it goes with anything else. So you've made it this far. Congratulations. You should have now mastered the direct object pronouns. If you have any questions, as I said before, leave them down below. But we're going to move ahead and talk about the indirect object pronouns. What is the purpose of indirect object pronouns? ¿Compraste el regalo para tu madre? Sí, yo compré el regalo para mi madre. That's redundant. You don't have to mention para mi madre twice or more than once actually, okay? So that's what the indirect object pronoun is going to do. It's going to take the place of that indirect object. In the simplest terms, the indirect object pronoun will answer the question to who, to what, for who, for what, okay? Here's a chart for the indirect object pronouns. And yes, I know, it looks a lot like the direct object pronoun. As a matter of fact, the only thing that changes is the third person form. Instead of lo and la, we have le. Instead of los and las, we have les. But everything else looks the same. It does have a different meaning, but it looks the same. We have me, which in this case means to me or for me. Depends on the context of the sentence. So in Spanish, it typically replaces a mí or para mí. Te, which in English means to you or for you, and it will replace in Spanish a ti or para ti. Next we have le, which means to or for, him, her, or it. It just depends on if you're talking about a person or an object, and le takes the place of a él, para él, a ella, para ella, or whatever object you're talking about that's not a person. Then we have nos, which will mean to or for us, and it takes the place of a nosotros. Then we have les, which means in English to or for them, plural items or plural, groups of men or women, or men and women. And it means to or for them, and it can replace a ellos or para ellos, a ellas or para ellas, or whatever object that you have. So now I want to take some time again to see if you can replace these indirect objects with the correct indirect object pronoun.
Hice el bizcocho para Mario y Nereida. For who? Mario y Nereida. That's plural. So it will be les. Ellos agregaron la sal a la pasta. To what? A la pasta. The singular and it's third person, meaning it. So we would say le. ¿Preparaste el desayuno para mí? For who? Para mí. Me.
If you didn't understand the direct object pronouns and the placement, you get a second chance because the indirect object pronouns have the exact same placement as the direct object pronouns. So the indirect object pronoun has 4 places where you can put it in a sentence so that it can make sense. 3 of those places will be attached to certain things. So we have the infinitive. So for example, I want to say, I want to ask him. Quiero preguntarle. Quiero preguntarle. I want to ask him. Or it could be her or it. You will understand why someone is using le when you're in the conversation with them. But in this case we don't really have a context, so just know that this is the placement. Quiero preguntarle. Then we have attached to the gerund, and this has the same rule as the direct object pronoun. You're going to have to put an accent mark over the third to last syllable, the third to last vowel. Estoy preguntándole. I am asking him, her, or it. And then we have the affirmative command, of course. Pregúntale, pregúntale. So, once again, the third syllable, the third vowel from the end, will be the one that's accented to keep it uniform with the regular pronunciation of the word pregunta, pregúntale. And the last place is before the conjugated verb, le pregunto, le pregunto. You can attach to the infinitive, you can attach to the gerund, or you can put it before the conjugated verb. It has the same value, the same exact meaning. So, quiero preguntarle is the same thing as yo le quiero preguntar. Estoy preguntándole is the same thing as le estoy preguntando. If I just randomly say le compré flores, I bought him, her, or it flowers, you would kind of wonder, who did he buy flowers for? When you have sentences like that, and it's an indirect object pronoun, you have to add what you're talking about at the end of the sentence. Who is the lady I'm talking about? Le compré flores a mi novia. I bought her flowers. Who? A mi novia, my girlfriend, okay? So that's a very common format that natives use in Spanish. So it's something that you really have to get used to. It's not difficult, it's just something that you have to remember with the indirect object pronouns. We see it less with the direct object pronouns. With the indirect object pronoun, you do have to use it if the indirect object has not been mentioned yet, okay? The same thing that happened with the direct object pronouns happens with the indirect object pronouns regarding the prepositions. You won't put an indirect object pronoun with a preposition. Doesn't work, never works, don't try it, alright? So let's practice.
Los hermanos gemelos están componiendo canciones para el cantante. How do you say they are composing songs for him? If you said le están componiendo canciones or están componiéndole canciones, you're correct.
Alright, so we know our direct object pronouns. They are going to answer the question who or what. We know the indirect object pronoun answers the question to who, to what, for who, for what, right? So now we're going to talk about combining both of them together. I promise you this will make your life a lot easier. It won't be such a mouthful. You're going to be saying more with less. Alright, so let's take the sentence. Did you share the secret with your mom? Compartiste el secreto con tu madre. So now we have to find the direct object pronoun, which in this case will be el secreto. Why? Because it's the what. What's receiving the action? El secreto, okay, is being told. Or we're asking if it's being told. And then to who? La madre, con la madre. We change the direct object, el secreto, to lo. And we change the indirect object, tu madre, to le, okay? So now that we have that, we have lo and le. So we can get rid of the el secreto, we can get rid of the con tu madre, because now we have lo and le to replace both of those phrases. So now the thing to remember is that we want to put the indirect object pronoun in front of the direct object pronoun. Always, always, always. It will never go behind the direct object pronoun when we are using both of them together. If I want to respond to that question affirmatively, then I will say, sí, le lo compartí. Yes, I shared it with her. But there's one small mistake. When I have the le, the third person form, whether that's le or les, and it's in the same sentence as the direct object pronoun, I have to change the le or the les into se. So the sentence will actually look like this. Sí, se lo compartí. Yes, I shared it with her. Yes, I shared it with her. Sí, se lo compartí. Because remember the indirect object pronoun from the end, it goes before the direct object pronoun. So when you have the indirect object pronoun and the direct object pronoun in the same sentence, they have the same exact rules as far as placement goes. You can put them both before the conjugated verb. You can attach them to the infinitive. You can attach them to the gerund. and you can attach them to the affirmative command. When you are attaching them to an infinitive, you have to make sure that the accent mark, that the stress of the word, is 3 vowels back from the end. Quiero compartírselo. Compartírselo. Quiero compartírselo. If I have a gerund, and if it has 4 syllables, then I'm going to go 4 syllables back for the stress of that word. So, estoy compartiéndoselo. If I attach it to an affirmative command, if that new word after the direct and indirect objects are attached has 3 syllables, then I will make sure to stress, to put an accent over the 3rd vowel, the 3rd syllable from the end. For example, tell it to her. Díselo, díselo. If it has 4 syllables, if it's a 4-syllable word, then it will be stressed on the 4th from last syllable. Dígaselo, dígaselo. That's it, guys. That's it. So now let's practice. Compré unos juguetes para mis hijas. I bought a few toys for my daughters. So our direct object would be a few toys. For who? My daughters. That's our indirect object pronoun. So we have unos juguetes, that is los, because it's masculine and it's plural. Then we have para mis niñas, les. But remember, since we're working with both the indirect object pronoun and the direct object pronoun, we're going to change that les to a se. So now it will be se los compré. I bought them for them. I bought them for them. Se los compré.
He's telling you secrets. How do you say he tells them to you? If you said él te los cuenta, you're correct.
So that's literally it, guys. That makes life a lot easier. It's less of a mouthful to say. Like I said, you'll be saying more with less. So feel free to practice these. I want to see you guys in the comments writing down below, giving me examples, showing me that you really understand how to use these direct and indirect object pronouns individually and together. If you liked this video, if this video was helpful to you, please give it a thumbs up and share it. Hopefully you have 0 questions, but if you do, leave me those questions down below in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, and que Dios me lo bendiga.